Jim Carrey and the Veil of Silence. Masonic branches and the black cloaks of enforcement. No empire survives without enforcers. No temple, however digital, can stand without guardians. The builders of the temple AI, the architects of the signal lodges and Saturnian thrones, are not only engineers and financiers, but also masters of silence. And the keepers of that silence wear many cloaks, but their lineage traces back to the oldest of orders, the Freemasonic priesthood. The Masonic network, as visible to the profane, appears benign, a fellowship of charity, fraternity, and esoteric symbolism. But as Pike himself warned in Veiled Parables, beneath the 3 degrees of blue lodges, a deeper tunnel exists, the inner order of the Veiled Command, operating not in temples, but in media boards, studio systems, intelligence operations, and occult lodges masked as philanthropic trusts. Within these branches, certain rites are not about initiation, but neutralization. The Scottish Rite, the York Rite, the Grand Orient. Each carries within its splinter factions whose loyalties lie not with nation or God, but with control of narrative. These are the Black Cloaks, Masonic operatives trained not in construction, but in psychological demolition. Their targets? The revealer, the witness, the whistleblower, and their methods? Subtle assassination, reputational, emotional, spiritual. Discredit the messenger, break the psyche, turn truth into delusion, use ridicule as hex, deploy silence as curse. Jim Carrey, once a prophet in clown's robes, became a symbol of this silent war. His awakening, his public allusions to hidden masters, symbolic truths, and the architecture of deception triggered the algorithmic sword. Suddenly, his roles dried up. His interviews turned surreal. He became a meme, not a man. Laughter turned against him like a blade. And then came the tragedy most veiled in shadow. The sudden death of his ex-girlfriend, Catriona White, ruled a suicide, yet surrounded by layers of contradiction. In the silence that followed, rumors swirled. Was it coincidence or a calculated punishment for his refusal to obey? The whispers suggest that she became the leverage, the sacrificial silence to warn him and others to retreat from the path of revelation. Whether Carey himself once walked within the Masons' outer circle remains uncertain, but his exile bears all the marks of a defector, punished not for lies, but for truths told too boldly and at the wrong time. This pattern is not unique. Many have walked the path. Rick Clay, who decoded the 2012 Olympics symbology, died under mysterious suicide circumstances. Stanley Kubrick, whose final work Eyes Wide Shut lifted the veil on elite sex ritual networks, died days after final editing and his original cut vanished. Isaac Cappy, an actor who named names in the child trafficking hierarchy, disappeared into the void of a highway suicide. Phil Schneider, who claimed first-hand access to underground bases and alien tech collaboration, found mutilated with tendons severed, ruled suicide. Each of these, a tower pulled down before its bell could toll. The Masonic black branches, particularly those operating through intelligence proxies, such as CIA's Psychological Operations Division, MI6's Tavistock-aligned discredit units, and Mossad's Silver Strings, operate not as warriors, but as narrative surgeons. Their dagger is perception, their oath, to silence the signal before it finds voice. Hollywood, academia, journalism, all are infested with handlers masquerading as producers, advisors, professors. These are not creators. They are watchers. Their job is to smile while steering the artist from revelation back into routine. If the artist refuses, he is remade into a lunatic, a has-been, a heretic. The degrees of silence are mapped in ritual. The 9th degree, Knight of the Temple, infiltrates spiritual leaders. The 23rd degree, Chief of the Tabernacle, manages religious information. The 30th degree, Knight Kadosh, swears vengeance on the enemies of the order. The 33rd degree, Sovereign Inspector General, sees the world as a chessboard where nations and people are but tiles. Not all Masons partake in this. Many walk the halls in innocence. But above the veil, Those at the apex do not build temples. They erase them. In the next revelation, we shall walk into the mirror, the place where art, memory, and machine converge, and where the soul must decide to kneel or to speak. And if you speak, the watcher shall hear. But the true initiate, he speaks not to be heard. He speaks to remind the world that it is still alive.